my name's Jordan Quiroz. I also known as on TikTok as the Claim Genius.
The Claim Genius.
Yeah, they call me I've been handling claims. So, just like a background on me, just I started out in the insurance industry a long time ago. I worked for a lot of different insurance companies as an independent adjuster, and so that's kind of like the start of what I've now become.
Mm-hmm.
Back in that time, we were working storms, traveling all over the country. From New Mexico, Colorado, all the way to Florida, Rhode Island. I mean, we did a lot of claims, and like I said, working for different insurance companies.
Right.
And then, we started to kind of experience the realities of, when you're a rookie adjuster,
Mm-hmm.
you do whatever they tell you. However,
Yeah.
you don't
You're
question
learning the ropes.
Yeah, you're learning the ropes. You don't really question anything. They say you jump, and you just ask, how high do you want me to jump? That's basically how it works when you're a rookie. And so as time goes on, I start to come across more experienced people on the contracting side and things like that. And so a lot of them were challenging what we would write. Like if I write up an estimate, they'd come back and say, well, why aren't you paying for this? Why aren't you paying for that? And so rather than like being like, well, I don't pay for this for these reasons, I would turn around and look at the insurance. Well, why aren't we paying for this stuff? Like it's legitimate. Like they're asking for things that are required and things like that. So I basically started asking myself, like, is there something wrong to investigate? Is there something wrong with this? So that's when I started. Basically, my brother Levi and I started a restoration company. Recovapro, yeah.
Is that how you say it?
Recovapro, yeah. So we started Recovapro back in 2017. And so him and I, both being insurance adjusters, decided to kind of venture into that industry.
Right.
And the whole reason why we did it was to bridge the gap. We thought there was, the contractors are doing a poor job at communicating with the insurance company. That's why they're not, there's a lot of tension between, there's a huge wedge between the contractors and the insurance company. So we're like, well, let's make a difference.
Yeah.
So we started Recovapro, and I quickly realized that every invoice that we would submit to the insurance company for work that we did, they'd always try to cut it down.
Yeah.
Every single time. Oh no, we don't pay for that. Oh no, we don't pay for that. Oh no, and for a lot of times for no reason. It's just because they're not used to paying for certain services, or they make their own rules up and stuff like that.
Can you give us an example of something that you would write up in the estimate and they would say, no, we don't cover that?
Yeah, so like on the restoration side, there's different categories of water. You have water that comes from a clean water source, and then you have water that comes from, the sewers. It can be contaminated and stuff like that.
Right.
And so those are two different types of water losses. And a lot of times the insurance companies would treat a category 3 water loss the same way they would treat a category 1 water loss. And that's not right, because you're exposing your workers and yourself to contaminants that can cause illness, mold and bacteria, things like that, and so the insurance companies really downplayed that, and so it was a huge battle to be saying, no, this requires us to wear protective equipment, PPE, and they'd be like, no, that's not warranted, because this came from this, and it's not poop water, basically is what they'd say. Like, they think that it has to come from like the sewer, and that's not the case. Water can come from a clean water source and then sit in the house for days and start to develop mold, and that now becomes a contaminated water situation.
Yeah.
We have to handle it as a mitigation company the way that it should be. And, Levi and I went to a lot of training to understand the complexities of a water loss, mold and microbial growth and things like that. That's the background we have. But like I said, the whole goal was to get us to bridge that gap.
Yeah.
Understanding the insurance, we were insurance adjusters, and understanding the restoration industry, and just kind of like merging it together. But then we discovered something a little bit bigger, you know, a huge problem. When the insurance companies are cutting you down, they're nickel and diming you, they're trying to just save money and profit. They profit. They make a lot of profits.
They're one of the most profitable businesses.
They're one of the most profitable.
Right?
Yep. They're a great business. They're a great business. They know exactly what they're doing. So that we ran into a lot of situations, and some in particular where we saw that the insurance wasn't acting right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I, decided at that point, because what happens is that we as contractors cannot act as like public adjusters. We can't be talking about policy. We can only talk about the scope.
Yeah.
And the insurance companies use that to their advantage, because as a contractor, they're like, well, are you a public adjuster?
Yeah.
And we'd say, well, no, we're not. They're like, well, don't risk getting sued or getting fined by the Texas Department of Insurance for acting like a public adjuster.
Right.
So that's where I said, you know what, let me actually get my license. So I had the background as an insurance adjuster. Let me get the license as a public adjuster. So now I can actually help customers and talk for them,
mm-hmm.
and, just kind of be a voice for them, advocate for them. And that's where the Claim Genius came out. So now what I do is basically I help homeowners when they're trying to file a claim. Mm-hmm. I don't like to use the term maximizing the claim. Mm-hmm. I pretty much
like leave no stone unturned.
Right. I pretty much represents the facts of the loss, and then say this is the amount that is actually owed on the claim.
Yeah.
Right. I don't like the term max the claim out, because it sounds to me like someone that's just trying to get more money, and to be honest, what we're doing is we're writing estimates the right way. Mm-hmm. And that estimate's pretty solid.
Yeah.
And that estimate, when we write it, we believe that that's what's owed.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you have this company, the Claim Genius, that works in conjunction with Recovapro.
Well,
or not
they
always.
They don't work in conjunction with each other. Obviously, the knowledge helps me.
Yeah.
My knowledge as a restoration expert helps me when I'm arguing a water loss.
Yeah.
Or a fire loss, for that matter. I can take the claim a little bit deeper, because a lot of times when you have a contractor who doesn't understand the mitigation side, the science and the complexities of that, a lot of times you'll realize that they leave a lot of things out of their estimate. A lot of times it's just they don't know that's what the proper way to go about it. Sometimes, for example, a roof leak, everybody just says, well, just cut out the drywall. Mm-hmm. Cut the drywall out, and then just put it back on, and then mm-hmm. texture it, and then just paint the entire ceiling and mask it. That's in simple terms. Mm-hmm. However, that you've got to also take into consideration potential contaminants.
Yeah.
That water's been sitting on that roof for a while.
Yeah.
And there's visible microbial growth that could be potential mold.
Yeah.
So if I come out and I cut that drywall, I'm now I'm disturbing the drywall, and particulates that have contaminants spread.
Oh, okay.
So people start breathing, and that's where you start saying, I started feeling like I'm sick, and So as a public adjuster, I take all those precautions into account. Mm-hmm. So when I'm looking at that, where a contractor would come back and say, well, that can be cut out, mm-hmm. replaced. I'm looking at, okay, it can be cut out, but let's go ahead and protect the area.
Yeah.
Let's try to prevent the contaminants from spreading to the rest of the house, because it does happen.
Yeah.
You got movement in the house, people walking back and forth, and that movement actually could cause like little dust particles to pick up, and it has contaminants. I mean, you're talking about mold and bacteria that's been growing on there, and now you're dealing with a situation where you're spreading the contamination over to, and people aren't aware of that.
So there was a huge storm not too long ago, maybe like 2-3 weeks ago. Did you guys have a lot of people calling in, or
Yes.
what was that situation like? Can you?
So you have two storms that came in. You had one storm that came in, and there was big hail in Mission, and that hailstorm caused probably the most damage in Mission. And a lot of people aren't aware of it. That's the thing, because you don't really see hail from the ground. A lot of people don't see it, and so people are wary of people knocking on their doors and saying, you know, oh ma'am, you have hail. Like, Mission legitimate has hail damage. I've been on a lot of roofs since it hit, and this is probably the first time since the last hailstorm that we had in 2012 where there's like significant amount of hail damage. And right now, like, a lot of people not being aware, they're going to sit with damaged roofs, and that'll affect their claim. If they decide to file in the future, that's going to affect them.
Is that because they waited too long?
Waited too long. There's a statute of limitations. The insurance companies have these rules in the policy that says you have a certain amount of time to file a claim. Yeah.
So what would you suggest someone do if they're not sure if they have damage, or should they call someone like you, or should they inspect themselves? What are some tips that you would give to a homeowner who is unsure what to do?
Yeah, for sure. I recommend obviously having a property damage expert, someone that knows how to identify the damages. A public adjuster is a good place to start, because not only are they trained, or we're trained to look at the damages and identify where the damages are, we can also look at the policy. And that's something that we as public adjusters can do that contractors don't look at. Some do, but they can't really they're not supposed to be using the insurance policy as a way to say, yeah, I'm going to take this customer or not. You know what I mean? They can't cherry pick, oh, this guy has too high of a deductible, or this guy has a perfect deductible. You know what I mean? So a roofer is supposed to do the roof job. That's it.
Yeah.
You know, they're not supposed to really be getting into negotiating claims. That's where a public adjuster comes in.
Yeah.
But you definitely if you do go the roofer route, that's fine. Basically, the roofer or the public adjuster get on the roof. They look at the damages. I mean, obviously, taking pictures and showing the customer. And I say that because what happens a lot of times is that the roofers, they don't document the loss, or some of them are not trained properly, and public adjusters too. I'm not saying that it's just contractors. There's public adjusters that aren't trained properly. They don't know how to identify hail damage, and so they might be showing the customer stuff that are like scuff marks or blistering or stuff that's non-related to the hailstorm.
Yeah.
And so what ends up happening, they create this awareness, or they get the customer worried. They file a claim, and the insurance denies them. Oh, it's due to this and due to that, not hail. You know.
What are some red flags people should look for when it comes to hiring a public adjuster, or maybe someone like Recovapro? Yeah. So
when you're working with a public adjuster, I think a public adjuster who, okay, here's a good one. The best thing to look for when you're hiring a public adjuster, a lot of public adjusters wait for the insurance company's response. And as a public adjuster, we're there to adjust a claim just the same way the insurance company adjusts the claim. So myself personally, what the process that I take is I go out and inspect it just as if I was an adjuster, an insurance adjuster. I don't need the adjuster there. I run my own inspection, and I write my own estimate, because what's on my estimate is what I'm going to defend. So if you have a public adjuster that says, well, okay, let me sign you up, right? And they don't schedule a time for them to come and actually do an inspection on your house. They say, well, I signed you, call me when you hear from your insurance, and then we're going to investigate. That's not how it should be.
Yeah.
They should already be proactive. They should be proactive.
So not being proactive is a red flag.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because what what people don't realize is the policy has this language that if you read it, it says that the insurance doesn't have an obligation to perform. And what that means, they don't have to go to the extent to pay you all this until you as the property owner submit a proof of loss. What a proof of loss is basically an estimate and a photo report. So if a public adjuster does not do that, then they're not following the rules the way that it should be. And at that point, the insurance companies are not going to come back. And they, a lot of times they're just like, whatever. What I do is I go out to the property, I do an inspection, I write up a detailed estimate report, photos and everything, and I show it to the customer and say, hey, are you in agreement with everything that we have here? And if there's anything on here that doesn't belong, in other words, if I'm writing up an estimate for things that you're like, oh no, that happened another time, it's not related, well then I wouldn't put it in there, because we have to be honest with the insurance company. Then I would submit that estimate and photo report to the insurance company. Then they have an obligation to investigate. So the insurance companies have to investigate, and they have 15 business days to make a coverage determination. A lot of people don't know that. So when you're letting the adjuster come out to your house, you're pretty much letting them take control of the claim, and whatever they want to do with it, that's what they're going to do.
So if they hire someone like you, they have that extra safeguard, right?
For sure. We put the insurance company on the clock. That's what we do.
Wow.
We write the estimate, we take photos, we're following the rules that are written out on the policy. We're not making these rules up. We finish the estimate, we submit it to the insurance company, and we let them know, hey, just so you know, there's statutes that require you to respond in 15 business days. And I'm going to let you know that by the 15th business day, if I don't have a response, you've now committed a violation. And it's a knowing violation, which is worse. Because now the insurance company can't say that, well, we didn't know.
Because they have 15 days.
You got to put them on the clock. And that's what we do. And so that's probably the biggest red flag, when
not being proactive.
Right. The job of a public adjuster is to, a lot of them think it's just to protect the customer. No, it's to follow the requirements or the rules that are on the policy. These rules they're all written out. And we follow these rules. Now we can hold the insurance accountable. But if you don't follow those rules, you can't start saying that the insurance is acting in any bad faith or anything like that, because you didn't even do your job.
So apart from like storms and hailstorms and things like that, what other things should a homeowner look out for or be aware of when it comes to like maybe their property having damage, or I don't know, what are some things to look for? Like
involving like a maintenance to the house?
Yeah, like I'm sure having hail is not the only time people contact you, right? Maybe.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like pipe leaks, fires, things like that. Car drives through your house or something. Those are all.
That happened to my friend actually.
Oh, really? Yeah. So those are all things the insurance company covers. You know,
any damage at all.
It has to be sudden and accidental.
It
has to be something that happened out of the nowhere. That's what the insurance.
What if, for example, you know how that meteor hit?
Yeah.
What if like there's a meteor that hits your house? How would that be handled?
So that's a good question. Basically the vibration there's a lot of things that you're going to have to prove on that claim. Okay, it's not just, you're going to have to get some experts on that. And experts like engineers. Because if I go in and I write an estimate and I say the whole house was shook by this meteorite that landed, the insurance is going to obviously not believe it, because it's kind of one of those things that they don't see a lot. You know how many times are people filing claims for that?
Exactly.
But if you're going to go that route and it legitimately happened and there's cracks that the customers are like, that wasn't like that. And the way to go about it is obviously if you file a claim, they're going to get an engineer. They're going to send their own engineer. Getting your own engineer is how you could support it. Okay, so now it's engineer with engineer, and assuming these engineers can write for structural damage and stuff like that, like they know how to identify structural damage and find a relationship between the structural damage they're seeing and the meteorite.
Yeah.
And they can get that in writing, then that's the best way to go about it. A lot of those things are going to be settled in a courtroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I asked that because I feel like it's happened twice already in the past year. Like meteorite, some sort of meteorite happened.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess Elon Musk has brought
what's going on here.
unwanted attention or something.
Yeah.
So what's it like working with your family? Is it do you guys like? I don't know. Like there's a lot of stories about like families clashing. What's that relationship like with you and your brother?
Yeah. So basically, I think early on when we first started, we had this need to kind of prove ourselves to each other, and we can kind of do everything. Like if you're good at this, I'm also good at that, and if you're good at this, I'm also good at that. But I think the biggest thing was to kind of start identifying your strengths and your weaknesses, because we're polar opposites.
Yeah.
And when you're able to depend on your sibling, in this case, my twin brother.
Yeah.
When you're able to depend on his strengths, and he's able to depend on your strengths, can flow a lot better.
Yeah.
And also operating with humility, being humble, and in recognizing the strengths, of one another. That's honestly, I don't see how siblings can run a business. I know in some households, there's this intense competition, and that's great. Levi and I, forever, we were in an intense competition that grew into something where we became more mature. I think it just became something that happened over time. We just grew out of this need to prove ourselves. And so he recognizes my strengths, and I also recognize his strengths.
Yeah.
And so that has definitely strengthened our partnership, as especially with Recovapro.
Yeah.
Because I focus a lot on the processes of our business. I also focus on implementing systems that will improve the overall process of our business, and training and developing, and just kind of the mindset of the business.
Right.
Whereas Levi is the executioner. He can kind of execute the plan, and that's kind of that's his strength. He can follow through. He doesn't make the excuse that it can be done. He's a very positive mindset as well. He doesn't have a negative mindset. So when we're kind of like in a rough situation, either something's just not going well, he can stay optimistic throughout that. And I think that's a great strength to have.
It's a good thing to have.
Yeah.
And also your sister, I feel like she's been helping you guys with marketing. Is that correct?
Yeah. So Sam's she's it's because they have this. It's that natural. It's kind of hard to teach that.
Yeah.
And she has that. She branded the Claim Genius for me.
I saw that.
Yeah. So the truck and everything.
Nice.
She's the one that did it. Yeah, she doesn't like to get credit for it, but I'll give her all the credit, man. And it was pretty quick, because when I'm doing it, I don't have that, right? I can be artistic in some ways, but she was thinking big.
Yeah.
She wasn't thinking just a little side hustle. And she was like, I want you to have brand identity. I want someone to see you as the Claim Genius, and everything from, the name or the colors and everything, just she knew where she was going with it.
And I've seen your trucks for Recovapro. They look like ambulance trucks.
Yeah. We try to give that ambulance look of, how
emergency.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is. Your house is under an emergency.
People are very vulnerable, and when they see that, they feel better.
Yeah.
It's a sign of ease.
For sure.
And I've driven by your office. I believe it's on Owasso.
Yes.
Right. And I always see the trucks there.
Yeah, we're right off of Owasso, and I mean that we try to kind of like an ambulance. They're coming. They're there to help. I mean, nobody wants to be in a situation where they've had their whole house flooded with water, or that's the last thing they do. They have memories, fire loss or something happens, and they have memories in that home. They have certain things that they're irreplaceable. They can't replace. Oh, this was given to me by my great grandmother. She's no longer with me.
Yeah.
So we try to restore things like that for customers, help them the best we can, because it's an emotional time for people.
And just how you were saying that people are not expecting to have these types of damages. I think it's important that you guys are, and what you are doing, you guys are you showed me that you have a TikTok, so you're kind of like being on top of mind for people as they're on social media.
Right.
They might not need you right now, but as soon as something happens, because you've been putting out these videos and these pictures and things like that, that you're probably going to be top of mind as soon as something disastrous happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that what well, I guess my question is, do you think social media is important for staying top of mind?
Absolutely, because you see these commercials like Coca-Cola, you see Powerade, all these big brands that we already know. Yeah, Red Bull, everybody knows these companies. They're still paying a lot of money to market, to stay on top of mind. They're trying to own real estate in people's minds.
Exactly.
And so if they're those big companies, which we've known, they've been around for hundreds of years or over 100 years, if they're doing it, why aren't we?
Yeah.
That's the question. And I've always thought that way. I've said this several times. You've got to be, especially in our industry, like you said, people don't need you until they need you.
Yeah.
People aren't like, well, let me see where I can, because they don't need, like, they're not planning for their next fire.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we hope that nobody goes through that. But when they do, our goal is to provide them some type of calmness, because they're displaced. People are displaced. And I think our insurance background and everything that we've been doing has definitely helped us out when we're helping customers out, because we know, oh, you need to ask for this. You need to ask for that. This needs to be done. This needs to be done. And we can give proper timelines also. Like when we're dealing, your adjuster's going to call you on this day. He might, he'll call you within this amount of time. He'll come out to inspect, this is what you need to do. So we're always trying to educate the customer, just kind of give back by educating them in those moments when they need it the most. Because, I mean, people they have lives that they still have to, they have to keep working, they have to keep, taking care of the kids or whatever it may be. And the last thing they want to is try to figure out how to be a restoration person, how to deal with insurance, stuff like that. Yeah. And we're there to help the customers throughout the entire process. That's what we do full time. Yeah. We don't want you to have to worry about that. That's what we do.
Yeah. I've been in situations where, like, I've been in a car crash, and I call, a certain lawyer, and it happens to calm my mind because the way that they handle, I guess, their customer service. Like, when you're in a car crash, obviously you're going to be stressed out because, the damage and everything that goes into that. And I've been in situations where I don't call a lawyer, and then I've been in situations where I do call a lawyer. And when I did call a lawyer, it went by so much smoother. Yeah. Because they handled everything. Like, I didn't even have to worry about, calling the insurance company or anything like that.
They took that.
They took that stress out of my mind to handle that, and I feel it's the same thing, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, because I mean, if you've ever been through a situation where your house has been burned down, or you had a water leak or something like that, you can feel kind of hopeless in a way, kind of like, man, this is tough. Yeah. You know what I mean? We've seen people get into tears. Yeah. A lot of them actually they lose like pets and stuff like that. So there's a huge amount. The last thing they want to worry about is fighting their insurance company, and it's sad because that's what ends up happening.
Yeah, like you were saying, they're nickel and diming you.
Absolutely, and they're saying, well, a lot of these guys that are making decisions, either they've never stepped foot on your house. Yeah, a lot of them never even done any type of construction. Yeah, they think that, oh, well, this can be done this way, and it's like, no, dude, like there's a lot of steps that you have to take in order for you to even do that. Yeah. You know what I mean? You can't just say, oh yeah, just do this. Like, what about the ladder? Yeah. What about the masking, the dripping of the paint? Like, who's going to protect that? Or, you know what I mean? All those little details, they count. And you got to bring it to the insurance company. The insurance companies, they do take advantage a little bit on people that may not have help early on, and when you see the commercials like, oh, you're in good hands, or whatever all those sayings are, you that's what you think you're gonna be in. I was talking on I had a customer as a public adjuster. I had a customer who I explained everything to him, how the insurance was gonna come back, and he still felt like he was holding out for the possibility that the insurance would still pay him fairly. Yeah. Right? He's like, I'll just wait to use your service. Let me see what the insurance is going to say first. Yeah. Even though he was still like, he knew that there was a huge possibility that the insurance would underpay it. Yeah. Sure enough, I get a phone call not that long, like 2 weeks later, and he says, it happened. And I was like, I just couldn't stop laughing at the fact that it's predictable now. It's like, but those, like I said, those commercials are so good. Yeah. That you hold out for those promises that they make. You're like, well,
And it's true. Like I was mentioning with the car crash, the first car crash that I was in, I called my insurance. Yeah. And I was expecting them to take care of it. And they sent like a check of like less than $1,000, versus when my brother was in a car crash and I told him, no, call a lawyer, because when it happened to me, they sent me very little money. Yeah. And sure enough, he called the lawyer and I told him to, make sure to do that, because they send you papitas, they don't send you anything. And he got a lot of money. He got way more. It was just like a smaller dent.
Yeah, so a lot of these insurance companies, a lot of people aren't aware, they adopted a principle that was put in place by a consulting firm. It's one of the largest consulting firms in the world. It's called McKinsey & Company.
McKinsey & Company.
Okay, this company they consult for the largest billion-dollar companies. Right. Basically, they try to their whole goal is to increase profits. Right. Basically. So why is Allstate, Farmers, and all those people hiring these consulting firms? Yeah. That doesn't make sense. I may get in trouble for saying this, but I mean, people gotta know. People gotta know. And the truth is that they deny the claim. There's a 3 Ds. They deny the claim, they delay the claim, and they defend themselves. Yeah. Right? So, just for an example, if they get 10,000 claims filed, they send their rookie adjusters to go out and pay for the bare minimum. A lot of the chances that all 10,000 people are going to challenge it is actually not that high. Yeah. A lot of people won't come back. They get the letter from the insurance company. Here in the Valley, it's different. Yeah. But if you're looking at the whole United States as a whole, after the insurance company makes their first offer,
they accept it.
They accept it. A lot of them don't push for more. Yeah. Okay. A few do, though. The few that do go on to that next step, they're challenging the insurance company, either through a public adjuster or a contractor or an attorney. They're challenging it. The insurance company comes back and says, we'll pay you a little bit more. Just a little bit more. Canelo. We'll pay you just a little bit more. And then so the amount of people that are willing to go even further goes down. Yeah. So they're cutting these people down. And by the end, you have a few people that are willing to stick it all the way through. Here in the Valley, the raza's different.
Yeah, they challenge.
The raza says, no, esto no está bien. You know, they know.
Yeah.
And you know what's crazy is that the mentality here, it's the right mentality.
Yeah.
The 956 has it figured out. And the reason why is because they don't, like, you go up north and people are like, hey, no, my insurance is on my side. Everything's good. But over here, they question it. And that's how it should be.
Yeah.
They need to question it. They need to question everything. That's why being a public adjuster down here, it's not hard to get a customer understand that they're being underpaid.
Yeah.
You know, you have the comadres, like, no, eso no está bien. Eso no está bien. Porque mi prima le pagaron tanto. You know, stuff like that. And you know, obviously it's a little more tactful than that. It's not just like getting more money from it. It's getting the right money from the insurance, what's owed. And so back to the models that were implemented, you know, why do they need to be hiring these consulting companies?
Yeah, why?
That's the question. You know, there's a book that I've read. It's called From Good Hands to Boxing Gloves.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's a good time.
From good hands to boxing gloves. Basically, an attorney who went through this whole legal battle to get those documents that company handed over to Allstate.
Yeah.
And they basically wanted to expose it. Say, hey, you're following these rules, and they have language, or you know, they have language in there that says, you know, like maximizing the profits and how you maximize the profits, and these profits are to be maximized by denying the claim early, delaying the process, and defending it.
Yeah.
These businesses, they're monsters, man. They know exactly what they're doing.
So was that one of the main reasons why you decided to start your own company and be that difference maker? Yeah, absolutely. After finding out, there's a whole world that people don't understand when it comes to their insurance. Yeah. There's a whole world of, you know, it would shock you if you knew what's going on right now, and what's going on, you know, with insurance companies paying off politicians. Mm-hmm. Insurance companies, lobbyists going and trying to convince politicians about the, you know, defend them at all costs, defend us. Yeah. You know, governors and stuff like that. It's a bad deal. I mean, even with like for example, recently tax season ended, but I feel like all these tax companies, a lot of people can do their own taxes, but I feel like these tax companies do it, they complicate things so much to the point where people are like stressed out about doing their taxes. Oh, yeah. And they do it purposefully so that they hire these tax companies to make money, right? Right. I'm assuming it's something similar to absolutely to these insurance companies. Any company that you have a responsibility, or the people have a responsibility, you know, they're putting their money in pretty much the hands of these big companies. Okay, just like a banking system, right? Mm-hmm. The banking system, you're putting your money in there. Somehow they always complicate it when you want to get it back. Yeah. The same thing for the banks. I mean, for the insurance companies. Yeah. The same thing with the insurance company. You're putting your money in there because you just bought a house and your mortgage requires you to. They're all in ties, bro. Yeah. Your mortgage is requiring you to pay your premiums. Yeah. You know, your insurance. That's a requirement that they're making you pay for that. Yeah. And so you're putting money into these pockets, billion-dollar companies. When it's time to return it, they start making these rules. Yeah. And my job as a public adjuster is to challenge these rules. Nice. Because you're paying for a policy that says one thing, but your insurance company is coming up with rules that you're unaware of. Right. Right. So you know, and I know this because I worked in the industry as an adjuster. I know what was being said. I've talked to a lot of adjusters
who are kind of caught in the middle, because you got to remember, they can't bite the hand that feeds them. And they know and they acknowledge that they kind of are screwing the homeowner over.
Yeah.
And I will never mention who they are, but I know this firsthand. And now knowing what I did, knowing what I know now, I've realized that I don't think I did the best job as an independent adjuster for my customers that I handled. You know, and a lot of it was because I was indoctrinated, to be quite frank. That's all I knew. I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
And you know, I've talked to adjusters. I've recently talked to adjusters now, and I bring this to them. I was you. I know what you have to go through. I know that your hands are tied in certain situations. You may lose your job.
Yeah.
I've been in your situation. So my argument is not with you. It's with the insurance company.
Yeah.
And a lot of them will be like, well, I appreciate that, you know, and some of them have gone even as far as saying like, man, I really want to come onto your side and work with you. And that'd be awesome, because like, this is a lot of stuff I didn't even know.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, well, you have to question everything, you know, and that I did. So that's why I can't ever go back to working for insurance companies.
Yeah.
I can't.
So you mentioned that the people from the RGB are a little bit more, they question everything. Speaking of the RGB, what do you think is so special about this place? Have you lived here your whole life? Were you born here? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So actually, I was born in Sherman. It's a little town north of Dallas.
Oh, okay.
But my mom's family, they live here in the valley. They're actually from Edinburgh. Everybody lived in Edinburgh. When my dad and my mom met, my mom decided to move with my dad to Sherman.
Yeah.
That's where they had us. All of us were born there.
Yeah.
And then my mom missed her family, and my dad obviously wanted her to feel more comfortable, so he moved back down to the valley. And we moved when we were 7.
Oh, wow.
7. So we've been here all our life.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And the valley's a special place for sure, because, you know, I went out to college. Levi also went out to college. We got to experience a lot of different West Texas, North Texas, Central Texas. You know, we've experienced. He was in East Texas. You know, there's no place like the valley, to be honest.
Yeah.
You know, there's the people here in the valley are more. They're more grounded in a sense. You know what I mean? I know. Life is a little bit slower here. You know what I mean? When you go to San Antonio or Dallas or something like that, it's like, you know, everybody's like, it's all about the business and work and 80 hours and stuff. And here you have the carne asadas on the weekend, you know, and it's like when I tell my friends, very common that in the valley, you know, you're going to do a barbecue. Yeah. You know, several times a month. They're like, what? Yeah. That's crazy. They just can't believe that.
It's just a normal, regular thing.
It's like normal, regular. It's like my dad says, you know, that the valley's like a barbecue pit. Everybody's always smoking the barbecue, you know, somewhere or grilling, you know. And so there's very special people here, very special people. And I could not see myself anywhere else.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is there something that people need to know as far as like, what's the thing that makes you different from other companies? Like, why should people come to you?
Well,
obviously you mentioned that you were in that world, and you got to experience all these things that you saw that were being handled incorrectly. I feel like that's a big part of your story. Yeah.
Aside from being an insurance adjuster, you know, my dad's a pastor, you know, and we were raised in the church and all that stuff. And so we really have the mindset my dad kind of drilled into all of us was just, you know, to always serve others.
Yeah.
you know, at a level where you're, you know, turn the cheek, you know, kind of thing, and or serve people with your full heart. You know what I mean? Like genuinely.
Yeah.
You know, some people always have to have like get something out of it, and to be honest, like I worked pretty much for free for a very long time because I wanted to add more value.
Yeah.
That's you know, the approach that I took. And
customer service.
Yeah, just it. You know, we've had customers where we've helped them, you know, get a lot of money from their insurance, justify their losses. We've gone the extra mile, things that aren't really required of us as a restoration company. You know, we would do that, you know, because it's at the end of the day, we're serving the customer. We want the customer to have the best outcome, and we don't want to be that. That's not my department.
Yeah,
that's something else.
Yeah.
No. Let me guide you. Let me help you, and serve you. It takes us, you know, an hour, 2 hours extra. You know, we're not going to make any money on it. It's fine.
Yeah. Because
I feel better knowing that the customer's prepared. I can't move on knowing that a customer is lost in this process, especially when I know the answers to it. I want them to fully. So I work outside of what I'm required to do, you know, because I want to go above and beyond for the customer. And obviously, like I've really invested in myself to learn for the people of the Valley. You know what I mean? I went out, I educated myself, I ran into some of the best people in the industry so that I can better serve my community here. You know what I mean? I fly out to different parts of the country to learn. That's an investment. I don't believe that you ever stop learning, but you know, I want to learn more so that I can be better prepared for the people here.
Yeah.
And because when the storm happens and they're sending adjusters from all over the country that come here to deny my people, I definitely need, I stand for them. I want to make sure that our people are protected. You know what I mean? I want to make sure that they're protected. And you know, if some of the best adjusters are the public adjusters are out there in, you know, Florida or Dallas or different parts of the country, no, the best adjusters need to be here in the Valley.
Yeah,
that's what we're doing. We're here to defend all the policyholders of the Valley. That's what we're here to do.
That's good. If people would like to get in contact with you, what would be the best way?
Yeah, you can reach out to our office, which give the number.
Yeah, if you would like to give the number.
Okay. Yeah, so you can reach our office at 956. You can reach our office. Sorry, it's just,
no, it's okay. It's okay.
It's 956-207 or 277-1002.
Yeah, and I'll also put the information in the bio of wherever people are listening to this, so that in case they want to look for that information,
absolutely,
they'll get it there. So one last question: is there anything that you would like to get off your chest that people should know about you? Anything that's on your mind that you'd like for people to know?
You know, I want people just to be better prepared when it comes to, or to just, they're already doing a good job at questioning the insurance companies.
The RGV people.
They're good at that, and they have every right to, you know, and the Valley is targeted, and the Valley is targeted by insurance companies. You know, the Valley's been preyed on for you know, people that don't speak English, possibly things like that, you know, and these insurance companies can take advantage and run circles around people here, you know, and then there's also bad contractors and bad attorneys who are misguiding and preying on these vulnerabilities. I think that it's important that people not only question the insurance company, question the people that are working for them.
Mm-hmm.
Are they really doing the best for them?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's a big one. That's a huge one.
Nice.
You know, so
just to be out and question everything.
question.
Question.
You gotta question, you know, because there's bad on every corner.
Yeah.
There's bad on every corner. It's not just one bad on the insurance only. No, there's bad attorneys, there's bad contract, bad public adjusters, you know, bad neighbors.
Yeah.
Giving you bad advice.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to be wary of it all.
Bad carne asada.
Bad carne asada, the beef jerky carne asada. Yeah, if they make bad carne asada, that's a person you definitely shouldn't trust. Just kidding.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Can I trust you? You're burning this
Yeah, come
fajita?
try my barbecue. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, Jordan, I'd like to thank you so much for coming on the podcast and giving us a little bit more of your story. I know initially we wanted to have your brother here, but I think you did a great job representing him. You mentioned you guys are polar opposites. Can you give us a little example of like how you guys are? You mentioned that he's more of he's the executioner and you're more like the setting up.
Yeah, so for sure, like I envision, I could set a vision, what needs to be done, what direction we need to take. And Levi has the ability to just put his head down and grind.
Yeah.
You know, and that's definitely something that he doesn't have ADHD. Let's just put it that way. He's the guy that's like focused, one task at a time.
Yeah.
This needs to be done. Let's get it done. Okay. This needs to be done now. We get it done. So that's kind of like the example of what I mean.
So it sounds like you guys are a good team.
Yeah, absolutely. We don't, like I said, we've been together we've been brothers forever, you know.
Oh, of course.
We've been brothers forever. So, like we've had a long time to figure it out.
Yeah.
And so I think we have done a good job at working together, work past our differences, and use our differences to our advantage too, right? We're two different people. Like, it doesn't benefit a company if both people are really good at one thing.
Yeah.
It's like, no, like you need to. And so we just got blessed to have two different skills, you know, two different work ethics.
And to have each other.
And to have each other, for sure.
Well, thank you again so much.
Appreciate it.
And
glad to be here.
Hope you help a lot of people out there that are, in search of quality people that are looking out for, the best for their house, for their damage, for their adjustment. It sounds like you guys are the go-to guys.
Yeah, that's what we hope for people to see, like if they have any needs, insurance claim needs, just I'm sure they won't regret. There's always a benefit to it.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much.
Awesome.